Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome, 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 welcome. Let me get you on here. There you
Yes.
go. There you go. Had some difficulty in hearing. Can you hear me okay?
Yes. Can you hear me okay?
Okay, yeah, I think I got it now. I think I got
Okay.
it now. There you go. Okay. Good morning, good morning,
Right.
good morning, good morning. Well, welcome, welcome to Soulful Solutions. And I'm Dr. Debbie Green. Thank you for having me this morning. We had a pretty good uh, topic lined up, actually.
Yeah.
The art, oh my goodness,
uh,
the act. I was saying the art over there. The act of
For some people, it's an
betrayal.
art.
Oh my goodness. It is. It is. It is. It's one of those things, Naima, that some people do it deliberately and some people just do it.
Mm,
It's a part of their character. Yeah,
okay.
it can be a part of character. I know it sounds a little odd, but you're like, how can someone just do that and not understand the ramifications after they do it and how they are affected? You know,
Yeah.
how they
I'm
affect
thinking.
someone else.
Yes. Yes. I'm thinking it has to do with a person being selfish. They do things for their own self interest without regard to how it's hurting somebody else. So I guess that's a reflection of character.
It is. It is. And what we're going to be doing, we're going to examine that. What is it and why do people do it? But most of all, how can we heal from that?
Yes.
How can we heal from that? Because one thing about betrayal, it began years ago. I mean, if we understood the biblical context, betrayal happened in the Garden of Eden. It happened there. It just went. It started I mean, eons ago, and again, people
Trust
do
somebody.
it so easily.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, people do it so easily. So, I want to bring a definition to it, but most of all, I want to bring a meaning to it, because
Mm,
a lot of people, like I said, sometimes we feel, oh, I know I've been betrayed before. I know what that feels like. I'm aware of that. Someone did this to me, someone did that to me, and well, let's break it down a little bit. Let's break it down so we'll know exactly what it is. And I also want to let you know there's different types of betrayal. There's not just, oh, someone betraying your trust or your confidence or your information. Betrayal goes a long way.
mm.
Yeah, it goes so it's so many different types of betrayal. And it's very painful. It does leave a lingering emotional void,
Yes, a wound.
a wound. Yes, it can. It can. And especially if one doesn't heal from it, because they'll go into those actions of vengeance, they'll go into the actions of unforgiveness because they don't know. Our human spirit, Naima, even our souls don't really know how to react to
Yeah,
something like that. I
yes.
really call it, I know we have the deadly seven sins, but really and truly, I think this ranks up there on
Mm,
that level.
betrayal.
Yes,
Uh,
betrayal does. So that we can know exactly what that is, it is the act of something or someone, violating you,
mm, mm, mm.
violating your trust,
Yeah,
violating your confidence, violating your dignity, violating your integrity. Those
yeah,
That's what I'm talking about. That's
yeah.
that's what I'm saying, It's a violation. And I don't
Mm,
think people realize what a violation does to the human spirit.
yes. When you
It's
when
a
you trust
violation.
and then they betray you. They violate your trust, and
Yeah,
because
because
you
we have
open yourself up.
principles.
Yes, yes,
Yeah, we have principles. We have principles. So when someone violates our trust, they violate every parts of us. You know, I call it, you really feel stepped on.
oh, wow, yeah, that's
You really do.
that's a good visual representation of the feeling. Yes, stepped on.
Yeah. You feel like someone could step on your heart because
Oh,
that's what it makes you feel right there in that moment. And you got the primary effects, which is the initial first beginnings of what it happens. But then you don't realize something. It's a secondary effect of that thing that lingers.
yeah,
If there's no closure, betrayal doesn't bring closure, Naima. It leaves it
right.
open. See, that's the
Yeah.
reason why it affects us so, because there's no closure. Now you have some people, after they do it, they may, if they have a sense of integrity with them, they may come back and say to you, "Oh, I'm so sorry for whatever they did." Now it's up to the person that receives that to say, "Okay, I accept that." But guess what? It still doesn't take away the pain.
So, what happens if a person not only does not apologize for whatever the infraction was, they don't even acknowledge that it happened? So, you're left with the feelings of anger because they betrayed your trust, and then they just move on as if, oh, well, that didn't happen, and never acknowledge it, even if confronted. How does one deal with that?
Well, okay, so that is what we call the hidden secret. Okay.
Mm,
And that, like you said, they didn't come and bring any closure, right? So now ain't no one saying nothing.
mm,
So now it becomes a hidden secret. And that hidden secret, because it's no closure. So now when I see you, or if I hear about you, guess what I'm going to think? I'm going to think about that immediately. The emotion of that act is just going to raise up in me. You understand what I'm saying? Because there was no communication, there was no act of love to eradicate this damage that
mm.
occurred. And it's a damage. I really don't think people understand the severity of betrayal,
Yes.
especially from a dear friend or a loved one, or someone you thought was close to you, someone you thought that loved you, and then they did something. Okay, let's break it down a little more. Okay. I want to give you the four areas. Now remember, the act of betrayal is violation of confidence, violation of disclosure. Okay. That means you trusted someone with something, whatever that something was. Was it information? Was it your ability to say, hey, in confidence, you confided in someone, but that secret became open.
Mhm.
So if you confided in someone and they went behind your back, because betrayal is never in front of your face.
Oh, yeah.
It's always what we call a backstabbing mode. Okay. And like I told you, this is something that's been happening since eons of time. Judas betrayed Jesus. You see what I'm saying? This is an act of
Mm.
betrayal, right? So let's go fast forward. What does that do to what areas does that affect in our life? So let's break that down a little bit. Let's break that down. There's some common forms of betrayal. The first one is harmful disclosure of privacy.
Mm-hmm.
Something I told you in privacy, but you went and you told someone else. And I didn't know. Okay, now it becomes a hidden secret. See what I'm saying? I didn't know you told somebody else. They
Mm-hmm.
know about me. I didn't know that they didn't know. So all this time I'm walking around thinking that, what I said in confidence, no one else knew. But everybody knows. I just don't know that everybody knows. Everybody's snickering and talking behind my back, knowing something that they shouldn't have known in the first place. So harmful disclosure is one. The next one is disloyalty. I
Mm-hmm.
thought you were my loyal friend, but you went and dated somebody that I cared for. You turned around and did some unlawful acts, but I
Mm.
thought you were loyal to me. See what I'm saying? I
Yes.
thought you were this person that cared enough about my well-being not to hurt me or injure me in any way. Again, violation.
Mm-hmm.
Then it goes to another level, infidelity.
Oh, that's a big one.
You see what I'm saying?
That's
So
a big one.
now I thought again that you loved me. I thought you were loyal to me. I thought I could confide in you. I could trust you with my heart and my mind, but you stepped on me. You took my heart for granted.
Mm.
You betrayed me in a place where I never existed, that I never thought you would do. And we go to that last one, which is dishonesty.
Mm.
Lies upon lies that I caught you in. All this time, I'm living with you. I'm breathing with you. I'm staying with you. I thought you were a part of me and I'm a part of you. But then I found out you was dishonest.
Mm.
See, all of these acts of betrayal leaves what they call a mental contamination. Okay?
Oh. Oh.
It's a mental contamination behind that. And I don't think, again, most people, they get irritated, they get agitated, they get frustrated, then they get this thing called anger behind it, right? And that
Mm-hmm.
anger then starts seeping down into the deepest pits of their heart, and now they are traumatized by that betrayal. That's the way this thing. That's why I call it a mental contamination, because it can be. A mother can, betray her daughter. A father can betray his son. You know,
Yeah.
one thing about it, it doesn't have any respect of persons. Mm-mm.
Mm.
It can happen between anything and anyone at any time.
Yeah. Now I had a friend who I guess they were deeply hurt by this situation. Um, they were they were working abroad and sending money back home, and they thought their mother was keeping it safe, managed their mother at managing the account that it was being sent to, and they thought when they returned they had a certain amount of money saved up, and when they returned home they found that their mother had spent the money on various things for herself, trips, things like that. and the money was nearly gone. And this friend was devastated because, you trust your mother, and there just didn't seem to be any guilt or remorse about it, you know. And he developed a drinking problem after that because the deep feeling of betrayal.
Mm-hmm.
So how does one deal with when the person that betrayed you is someone like a maybe a parental figure, which is even a different sort of trust level than a spouse. You look up to them, they've been an authority figure, and then they represent trust, safety, and all of that. And then when the betrayal is so hurtful and it's never acknowledged, it's like, why are you upset about that? Get over it. Because he had all these plans, gonna get married and build a house, and there's all these things that he was going to do, and then he couldn't do any of it because what he thought was savings was all gone. So how does
Mm.
one deal with that level of violation?
Well, because remember I told you it's no respecter of persons, so it can happen between anyone, and that is a ultimate act of betrayal. She, which is the mother, did not act upon the emotional availability of her son. Like, how would my son feel if I did this? No, that was not
It wasn't good.
something. No, that wasn't considered. Another thing that wasn't considered was the repercussions of after her actions. That was a selfish act, and betrayal is a selfish act. It is an act that only that person takes in their own, you know, prideful action. It is not considered a actions of, oh, let me think about what and how this is going to affect. No, no, none of that. It is
Mm,
emotional manipulation and emotional deception at its
mm,
highest level.
mm.
Yeah, yeah. I have a Facebook uh Minister
Self-centered.
Carolyn Heron saying self-centered, and also she also mentioned self very
Very deceived.
deceitful.
Yeah.
And that's
Yeah.
true. That's true. That's true.
Because I
That's
figured,
exactly what it is.
yeah. Because I figured the mother could have easily contacted him and said, "Well, can I use a portion of the money that you've saved for, X, Y, Z, or whatever?" At least gotten permission, give him the right to say no because it's his money, and that didn't happen. So I guess that is deceptive because if you really wanted to do things right, then you would ask.
Well, that's integrity.
Yes.
That's integrity. It's a principle of integrity. You will know if a person acts in integrity and principles because
Mm,
they would do what is considered appropriate. But if
right.
they didn't have any integrity and principles intact, they would do those actions.
Mm,
Actions speak louder than words. Oh, believe that action. Because if
mm,
they did it once, they'll do it again. I
yes.
don't care. They can tell you I'm sorry. They can apologize for it, but trust me, that's a character deflect. Okay,
Yeah.
that's a character defect. And the thing about this is, it is so mm, okay. Let me put it this way. We want to know, how did a person arrive to that action?
Yeah.
How can they just ignore another person's feelings and do those things and don't care at all and don't have any thought process based
Yeah.
upon their own actions before they do them? Now, truth be told, they grew up in a household where they were not taken seriously.
Mm.
They grew up
So
in
there
a
was no.
household where there was no emotional availability, was there was only emotional abandonment.
Oh.
So what then happens is in the human mind, Naima, when someone actually grows up that way and don't receive the type of
Mm,
nurturing
mm,
that is required for them to take in consideration of another human being's feelings.
mm.
You see what I'm saying? You had to
Yeah.
grow up in the atmosphere of that feeling abandoned, feeling taken advantage of, feeling that you had to only think for yourself and not consider another person's feelings before you have a action of ongoing betrayal in your life.
So people who lack integrity or appear to be selfish, it's a reaction to what they experienced growing up where they could not trust people. Is that what tends to happen? Say like if you grew up
It's a
in a house
trust level. Yes.
abandoned, you had to kind of hustle to survive, or maybe you had parents that might not show up or come back home, and you had to try to scuffle and find a way to get something to eat, or you had a parent maybe that had a substance abuse problem, so you couldn't trust them to make sure the the lights stayed on or whatever because they were back and forth, and out of jobs and homeless, that sort of thing, where you couldn't trust the people that you needed to trust for your welfare, and so you learned not to trust and to basically be in survival mode. So you did whatever you thought was necessary for your survival without regard to how it affected other people. Is
Well,
that how
those
that?
are just environmental things. See, you
Mm-hmm.
talking about environmental things of not having the lights on or not having the food there. Those are, but that's survival on a whole nother level. What I'm talking about is when you may have somebody there, but then you may be invisible. You
Ah.
understand what I'm saying? You and people who live an invisible life have to then conjure up whatever it is in their mind what they are, and that is
Mm,
misrepresented, that's misunderstood. Because remember, if I'm not teaching you love, how are you going to realize what love is? If I'm not
mm,
teaching you trust, how are you going to realize how to trust? If I'm not teaching you how to, I'm saying, deal with conflict without being vengeful, without being angry, without being in these things called discontentment on a constant basis, how are you going to know?
mm.
Some people feel they have to, again, step on others to get what they want.
Wow.
And that's because of their upbringing.
Yeah.
Ain't nobody ain't never did enough for me. So I don't care about what they think or what they feel, to the point where you stepping on other people to get what you want. And when you realize it, you stepping on yourself.
Mm,
Because now you're showing others that you have the inability to be loved.
mm.
Come on now. You
I've
have the
seen that.
inability to give love and to be loved, because no one wants to be around a person that can't be trusted. No one wants to
Right.
give themselves to another human being that is not willing to give their love freely without having some kind of agenda or motive behind it. Do you see the
Mm.
difference?
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You see what I'm saying? So if you were ever yourself was ever in a place where somebody might have stepped on you or took you for granted or neglected you in some type of way, it is not about the person that's being neglected or stepped on. It is about the person that is doing the action, because they're the person that's lacking something. It ain't you.
Right.
You ain't lacking nothing. The
Mm,
only thing that is going to hurt is the action that you thought
mm,
would never have happened between you and that individual. But then
mm.
it happens. Okay. All right. After fact. Come on. Let's get here. What time
Yes.
it is? We're going to take a break and I'm going to talk
Yeah.
about the aftermath. Because, see, people out
All
there
right.
need to heal from this. You got to heal from this. This is something you can't just ignore. That thing lingers in your soul, it affects you tremendously. So
Mm.
we're going to take a break and we're going to be right back.
All
Okay.
right. We'll be right back after this brief message. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call 515 605 9325 and press 1 when you're ready to speak. and we'll come right to you and get your thoughts. We'll be right back. Stay with us. We all say we would like to be wealthy, but wealth isn't determined by how much money you have. We all say we would like to be wealthy, but wealth isn't determined by how much money you have. Wealth is determined by your power to define what money is. The dictionary defines money as something used as a way to pay for goods and services and to pay people for their work. So how would you like to have access to an unlimited source of money? Money that is not taxed by the government. Money that increases as you share the opportunity with others. Money that you can use to pay for goods and services and pay people for their work. I'm talking about Bitcoin. It's the future of independent wealth building. Bitcoin is the new money that you control. Get started building your wealth. Call 312-849-3456. That's 312-849-3456. Do you want to live in a world without war? Join our global peace movement. Heavenly Culture World Peace Restoration of Light transcends culture, religion, ideology, and other boundaries to achieve peaceful harmony in the global society. HWPL is committed to bringing world peace and cessation of war through peaceful dialogue between religious groups. I am Director Shin-Suk Kim of the HWPL Chicago branch of North America. Join us for our next gathering. Call 773-580-1501 and be a part of the movement for world peace. Email us at chicagohwpl@gmail.com. Hi, John Alexander. And I'm Naima Latif. Meet people like you who are making a positive difference in the world. Watch us every day on The Media Connection at www.youtube.com/The Media Connection TV. All right.
All right, welcome back. Welcome back to Soulful Solutions. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. And if you're just joining us this morning, we are talking about a really deep topic. It's the act of betrayal, the effects on the mind and heart. And before we went to break, I wanted to actually explore, but also discuss the aftermath of this and how should one handle betrayal after the fact. First of all, you need to get some distance between you and that person. When I say distance, I'm talking about from just the point of view of distance between them and you, even if it's digital, telephone, email, whatever. There has to be some distance. Even if you are in the same home, there still has to be some distance. And that means that because every time you come around that person, you're going to think about what they've done to you. So you need time to reflect. All right. Mental reflection is the first thing you have to do. You want to think about what happened to you. You also want to examine how they betrayed you. You also want to think about how did it make you feel. And if there's any long-term effect consequences that you may be going through. Did it cause a loss? Did it cause your relationship to break up? Did it cause you to lose something, a material possession? Did it cause you to, go through a divorce? Did it cause you, whatever? But you need to examine that due to the fact of because the mind has to process betrayal. If your mind is not processing it, then your heart is going to hold on to it and it will become an issue. Do you understand?
Mm.
Because the mind and heart has to understand what happened to you and has to agree that this was a hard thing to deal with. Most people ignore it. They just get angry at whoever it is and they go away and they ignore it, thinking, oh, if I just walk away, saying, oh, that's fine, it's not going to hurt me. I don't care. They can do what they want to do. But then when you have that feeling again from something triggered you, immediately you think about that betrayal. You see what I'm saying? Because the
Yeah.
brain has not processed it yet. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? And then it may cause you to start feeling something. So if you're feeling something from the betrayal, I don't care if it had happened 10 years ago, you ain't put a period there. You didn't
Right.
finalize it. You're still
Right.
carrying that in your spirit.
Right.
That's why you have to process it
Right.
mentally, that is. Because remember, it's a mental contamination. That's what it
Mm.
does.
Now, what happens
That's
if
what it does. So, uh huh.
what happens if the person who betrayed you is no longer among us now? This is a situation. A friend of mine had, father passed away, and all her life she thought, oh, we had a happy family. My mom and dad, and my siblings and everything. We grew up nice, uh, regular family, and then she discovered after her father's funeral, uh, well, actually during her father's funeral, he had a whole family somewhere else, and it's like he was living a double life that they knew nothing about. Other siblings, in another state, and
Mm,
her aunt knew about it and never told the mother or the children. So it's like his family kept that secret from all of them, but it all came out once he passed away that he had this whole other family. Because he would travel from time to time, and I, I guess the children and the mother just thought he was visiting relatives or whatever. He would say, usually his excuse, oh, I'm going to visit my sister in this city and everything. But he had a you know family over there, I guess, girlfriend with children or whatever, um, that lived in the city with his sister. And so the sister had kept all of that life secret from his wife and children. So my friend, of
mm,
course, was devastated and felt deep betrayal by her father. Um, Same thing, mother, devastated. So everybody's just destroyed at the revelation of this and the feeling of betrayal. Well, of course, they felt betrayed by their father, but then they also felt betrayed by their aunt who kept his secret. But then the aunt felt like it was better that you not know, because what was you going to do about it? I mean, he wasn't going to leave this woman he was attached to over here, and he wasn't going to leave his wife and children either. So, what was the point in telling you? So that was, it's kind of, it was devastating, because she said to me, if I feel like my whole life has been a lie. So I mean, how does the person deal with those kind of feelings?
Well, the thing about this is these are dealing with other people's action. There's a quote, Naima, that was written by an unknown person because it didn't reveal who they were. And it says, forgive yourself for the blindness that let others betray you. Sometimes a good heart doesn't see the bad.
Mm-hmm.
Forgive yourself for the blindness that lets others betray you. Sometimes a good heart doesn't see the bad. Okay, so what that means is that because of someone else's actions, what we do, we hold on to the emotion overthrow of another person's actions. Now,
Mm-hmm.
this situation that you're talking about, this person can either do one or two things. They can either forgive and move on, or they can fester behind it.
Mm. Yeah.
See? So what does the wellness of the human being say? Well, if I love myself, I care about myself, if I understand what self-rescue is, I will not allow anyone's actions to tear this being down. First of all, number one rule of life. So if that number one rule of life is not intact, then what happens is they start festering behind it. It affects
Mm-hmm.
them mentally because I remember it's a contamination. It
Yeah.
contaminates their mind, then contaminates their heart, then contaminates their spirit, and they're walking around contaminated and
Wow.
dysfunctional. Then it affects their relationships with other people because they have an inability to start trusting other people because of the hurt and the pain that they're still carrying in their heart.
Mm.
Do you see what I'm saying? So
Yeah.
self-rescue, because that's what I call it, self-preservation, what some people may think, says I have to move on. Whether that person is dead or alive, it's an action that's already taken place.
Can't change the past. Right.
What's the purpose of trying to change it when it's unchangeable?
Right.
So I have to get stronger within myself to move on and not allow the violation to take away my life because it can. It
So
can
what about
interrupt your life.
those feelings of, I feel like my whole life is a lie. I had this image in my mind that, I had this, beautiful, perfect childhood and perfect parents, and
Uh-uh.
uh, I mean, should all that be erased? Or I mean, because her whole thing was that now I'm looking at everything in my life differently, and I feel like she said, I feel like everything I thought about my life was a lie, and I don't feel good about my childhood now, whereas I did before I knew this. And my thought was, well, why do you need to change how you feel? As far as what your father presented to you, if he treated you well, you don't really have to change how you feel about him, even though he had this other life. But that's just my thought. I've never been through like infidelity in terms of a marriage where, I find out there's another relationship. So I don't really know how that feels in terms of a violation. If you feel like, now I'm going to change everything I think about you because I found out you had this other relationship. I don't know how that feels. But my thought is, if a person treated you well, and for whatever reason, to protect you, whatever, they kept that from you because they didn't want you to think ill of them, continue to feel good about them because they treated you well. I don't know. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, okay, that's the rational side of looking at it. That's why, you know, but truth be told, guess what? You're not thinking rational when you're in pain.
Mm, yeah.
Okay? You're emotional. So all she can do is see it from an emotional view. How could you do this to me? So
Mm,
what does the emotional view bring? A victim.
mm,
So she's staying in the victim mentality. That's the reason why she can't see it any other way. See, the only way to remove yourself out of a victim attack of this nature is to no longer be the victim. You see what I'm saying? Like, yes, it happened to me, but I'm not going to live constantly like it's happening to me.
ah,
Do you see the difference?
right, right.
You have to know how to put a period there. And a lot of times people want to run on sentence. No, No, put a period there.
Period. It has to end
Put
at
a
some.
period there.
Yeah.
Finalize it. If you don't finalize it, then it's going to keep affecting you
Yeah.
because at some
It's
given
still
point in
happening.
your life, you're going to continue to be triggered because you're going to feel the same type of feeling one day and you're going to automatically open up that same Pandora box.
Mm. Yeah.
Now, that same betrayal that happened years ago is happening in your now. You see what I'm
Mm.
saying? Because it changes, remember, it's mental contamination. It changes the way you think. It changes the way
Ah.
you think about yourself. It changes the way you think about people.
Yes.
The act of it from another person will change you, how you think about yourself if you're not careful. So one has to be intact. Okay, listen to this. Listen to this. And I did some research on it because I wanted to help people to understand the adversity that they're going through. The first thing, again, one has to do is reflect, right? So if I'm reflecting, I'm looking at how I was affected, not so much of what they're doing. I'm going back to the internal process. How was I hurt? How did this affect me? It ain't even about you no more because you done did the act. So ain't no use to me being angry and grudgeful and doing this to you because then that's going to keep me victimized. I'm gonna
Mm.
still be your victim after it's dead and gone, and you done did whatever you did and went on wherever you going.
Mm.
I'm still unforgiving, and I'm still holding this inside of me. You see what I'm saying? So who's being hurt? I am.
Mm.
I am. I'm still being hurt behind it. I still have not forgiven you for what you did. So I'm carrying all of this bound up emotional hoarding inside of myself because I didn't put a period there. I did not put a period there. So you say, well, why can't so they just get away with everything? No, they don't get away with it because karma will come back and get them. See, you got to trust the universe. You got to trust God. Karma will come back to get this. And I say not, and well, a lot of people want vengeance after it happens. Oh, I want you to suffer.
Yes.
I'm serious.
Want
God
people
gonna
want
get you. You
hurt
gonna
the way they.
suffer. I want you
Yeah.
to suffer. But truth be told, most people dig their own holes and they
Mm.
fall in them. But
Wow.
don't you fall in there with them. No, 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 no. You put a period right there. Put a period right there. Say, yes, you betrayed me in some kind of action, some kind of way, but I'm going to come to my highest self, my highest being, because I know that the goodness in me that God has given me is bigger than the bad in you that you did. So guess what? Let me go ahead and shift myself into a good position so I
Mm.
can heal. Huh? I have to heal from this act upon my life. Because if
Mm.
I don't heal, I'm just going to continue to fester
Wow.
because that's what it does. All
Yeah.
right. Anytime we go through this, there's these occurrences that happens, okay? And these
Mm-hmm.
occurrences are during the after effect of the betrayal. And we tend to, the first thing we do is get emotional, right?
Yeah. Yes.
Because betrayal hurts, it's painful.
Yes.
So it attacks our heart immediately. When it attacks our heart, then it starts to change who we are as a person. Now,
Yeah.
guess what? It also attacks how you trust people, how you
Mm.
trust people, and also how you trust yourself. So now you're building up a wall, whether you realize or not. Involuntarily, you build up a wall because you say, oh no, ain't nobody gonna hurt me again. Ain't nobody gonna take advantage of me. So you build the wall up, okay? You build the wall up so you're walking around with a big old wall, whether you realize or not. And as soon as someone triggers you, like says something that you think is inappropriate or does something that you think is inappropriate, you immediately let them know. And here comes that after effect
Mm.
of that year long betrayals or betrayer, however. Oh, okay, I see you now. I see this. Automatically, you put the game face on. Oh no, you ain't gonna do that to me, because I'm gonna do this to you, and you can't do that. And okay, not realizing that you still acting like you've been betrayed years ago.
Mm.
You ain't let that go yet.
And let it
You
go.
ain't
We
let
got
that
a
go.
call.
Go ahead.
Yes. All right. Area code 773-450. Give us your name, where you're calling from, and your comment on betrayal. Seven
Hello,
seven.
greetings. Good morning. Oh,
Yes.
I had a there's a wonderful subject, but I had a question because this happened to me. It's interesting, very interesting. I had a friend I know for years. Their neighbor told them that I went in their garage and stole their car. Now, it was a real stretch because how you gonna get in somebody's garage, and secondly, how did you get a key to get in there and drive the car off? Well, when I was told that I had done that by a friend, and they said they neighbor saw me, the first thing I said was, then show me the tape where I'm driving your car. But they was insistent that I took their car because they said their neighbor who they've known 25 years would never lie. But you see, what's interesting to me about that whole process is if somebody thinks you did something and you know you didn't do it, and you say, I would have never done nothing like that. Now they want to drag you through the mud, go call the police like you're some criminal, tell everybody on the block you're a thief, you're a con artist. People really go way, way deep. So simple with it. If a friend says I did not do it, you might as well believe them unless you have the tape to prove otherwise. But I'm not fighting the issue at all. If they said I stole something and they believe it, hey, I'm stepping back because obviously they just don't have the faith. But it's amazing. The last thing I was going to say was this, though, just because. You mentioned how people will carry this attitude, a chip on their shoulder behind distrust. That's about the most foolish thing I've ever heard. You know, we live in this society full of violence and everything else. Every day you wake up, every night you go to bed, you ought to let all that go. Forgive everybody, including yourself. Why are you still holding something? People make mistakes all the time, and they change eventually. But why are we holding on to that art and attitude for somebody else? We're supposed to let that go, man.
Absolutely.
Let it all go. So when you wake up in the morning, you got a new day with a fresh mind. But we got war every day and all this other stuff going on. So you got a whole society full of confusion as far as I'm concerned. But the last part is this is the program about solutions. We are part of a new paradigm of those that are going to be in the peaceful world. So I'm already for that. But I'm just saying some people still think this stuff is going to go on forever. But one of these days, somebody's going to wipe a bunch of people out and all that's going to be left of a few of us. Thank you very much.
Well, I got a question before you go, regarding the
Sure.
person who accused you of stealing their car. Was the car missing? I mean, was it stolen? Was it gone? And they just decided.
No, it was never missing. It was sick and they were in the hospital sick at the time.
Okay, so what made them think the car was stolen?
Yeah. No, it never got stolen. I think
It
they
was
just
a
had.
lie. That's
Oh,
what
so
it was.
about that. Oh, I see.
Yeah, neighbors are just lying. But it's okay. How would you know? Don't you have to trust your neighbors if they say something?
Not
Yes.
necessarily, but okay.
Yeah, that's true. Well, thank you
Yeah, but
for.
I'm just saying, human beings make mistakes. But that's a close friend of mine that's been for years. I appreciate them, even though I tried to let them know it wasn't true. Now they're going around telling everybody else I'm the worst thing on the planet, which doesn't bother me as much. I don't care what nobody thinks of me anyway. You know, what's important is what God thinks of you. You're too busy trying to audition for creatures. You're going to be in some real trouble, y'all. Audition for the Creator every day. He's the only one that gives you breath.
That's
Thank
it.
Yeah. So your feeling was that the friend that you thought would have taken your word for it, in a sense, betrayed you because they
Sure,
believed the
why
lie.
not? I'm not a thief. If I was, I would have admitted I stole that car. I told if I stole that car, they never would have seen it again. I would have sold it.
So what did he say to you after he got out of the hospital and saw that his car was still there?
Well, they said their neighbor saw me on tape driving it. So what are they supposed to say? They believe their neighbor over me.
Yeah, sound like they got some trust issues
And
themselves.
it's the worst thing, really, just honestly, because
Yeah.
I am one person that never asked anybody for anything.
Mm.
I would walk 100 miles before I asked for a ride. I had a friend offer me money to buy me a car. No, I don't need your money. I'll make it on my own. I make my way. I don't need the help. Do it for yourself. What about do it for
Yes.
yourself?
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
Well,
don't
thank
need
you so
help.
much.
Yeah. Well, it sounds like somebody
I
just kind of wanted to ruin your
Yeah, so
reputation.
we can move on because I got to get this other point in.
Yeah, we got about
Hey,
5 more minutes, but thanks so much. Yeah, people do lie on you, and you have to just let it go. Put a period on it. Otherwise, you always be stewing about it. Yeah.
yes, you have to. It's very important to do that. Again, sometimes doing betrayal, because it's a deep emotional hurt, we then also start to, sometimes we blame ourselves for what happened. If I didn't do this or they did do that, then maybe, this wouldn't happen to me. Then as we continue to go through it, then we get to this thing called revenge. You see what I'm saying? Because of it happened, then we then allow people to, I call, rent space in our head. Okay, so we start thinking about, how do I get this person back? Or there's no way I'm going to allow them to just be my friend or be around me or whatever the case is. But again, the goal is this, is to take your power back. Okay.
Mm.
You have to take your power back. Otherwise, even when that person is around you or somebody similar to that person that's around you, you will always keep reliving these same things over and over again. And that's not healthy. It's not healthy to keep reliving the same actions. And then you're walking around, because you're, like I said, you got the brick wall that's built up, you know what I'm saying? And you struggle with this thing called trust. You don't want to trust anyone because
Mm.
again, you feel like you're going to get hurt. You feel that you're going to get abandoned. You feel that, you just don't, that's your ego defense mechanism is at its highest level. Now, when someone is trying to help you, then you'll sabotage. You see what I'm saying? Because you don't know why are you getting so close to me? Why are you,
Uh,
why you want to do that for me? What is it that you want? And they may just be nice, genuine people that just
yeah.
want to help or assist you. But in your mind, because you still dealing with trust issues, you don't even allow anyone to get close enough to show you what real love is.
I've seen that often. Where
Yeah,
someone really is sincerely just out of the goodness of their heart trying to help, but the person that they're trying to help rejects it out of suspicion. What's the catch?
right.
Must be strings attached. Or you want to just pay this bill for me, yeah, right. And then what are you expecting in return? That kind of thing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
And we call it hypervigilance.
mm.
You're
So how,
hypervigilant.
how can you
Yeah.
tell the difference between when you're being, sensibly cautious and when you're being overly suspicious? How can you tell the difference within yourself?
Well, you get these feelings of paranoia. You know what I'm saying? Paranoia can be mild, moderate, or severe.
Oh,
You know what I'm saying? Yeah,
mm.
because see, when you lose trust in yourself and in others, because see, let me explain something. You just don't lose it in others. You also lose in yourself. Because if you trust yourself enough, when people do come into your life, you will know how much time to give them. You will put them on a boundary list. That's what I call it, right? Because you got a property line.
I like
So,
that.
yeah, you got a property line. So, what you should, some people don't have property lines. So, they allow anything to flow in and anything to flow out. No, you got to have a property line within yourself, and you have to have a property line outside of yourself. Certain
Mm.
things, and I mean, you should evaluate. You should evaluate yourself when it comes to people and situations before actions is then taken. That's when the logical mind is doing its job. But if you're living hypervigilance, that means you're really emotional. You can be paranoid because you're lacking trust. You could be to a point where you always think, well, people always they trying to, they always want to get over on you. You
Yeah.
know, you always want to get over on you. You got to watch people. Okay, believe it or not, everybody don't want to get over on you. But if in your
Yeah.
mind you think, that somebody's always trying to get over, you heard people talk like that. People, oh,
Yes.
somebody always trying to get over on you, so you better watch them. Okay, so now you are dealing with your own trust level. You see
Yeah.
what I'm saying? Because you think somebody's always trying to get over on you. So really, what's really going on? Is that an altered reality?
That's
Absolutely. Because there's no such thing as somebody always getting
right.
over on who? You.
Right.
That's an altered reality. You
That's
see
what
what I'm
happened.
saying?
Yeah.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
what
I know
I'm
we got to
saying.
call.
Now we go back
We
to
got to take
that
a break.
mental contamination.
Yeah,
Oh,
mental.
Jesus, help us.
We got to take a break, but we got a caller after that. If you want to take the caller after the break, and we'll be
Okay.
right back. And if you're listening online and want to join this conversation, you can give us a call 515-605-9325 and press 1 so we know you have something to say. And if you would like to join us visually, just go to Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie Green on Facebook, and you will see her beautiful face, and I'll be smiling too. We'll be right back after these brief messages, so stay with us.
Have you ever dreamed of going to exotic places, meeting fascinating people, enjoying uplifting music, and spending nights in a luxurious hotel? Do you look forward to a relaxing vacation where you can walk along the beach or sit in a quiet park and enjoy the sunset or sunrise? Whether you're flying around the world or driving across the country, we will share travel tips that will help you stay safe while you enjoy the journey. Join me every third Saturday of the month, 12 noon to 2 p.m. Central Standard Time, and move around with Deborah here on the Female Solutions Show. Call in and comment 515-605-9325 and press 1 to speak. Is Monday morning a struggle to get out of bed into the swing of things? Well, don't worry, you are not alone. Join us for thought-provoking, stimulating, and mindful conversations on higher learning with Zelda Speaks for your Monday morning mindfulness session on Blog Talk Radio, The Female Solution, Mondays, 7:30 until 9 a.m. Be sure and send your ideas, thoughts, comments, and suggestions. Also, if you'd like to be a guest on the show, visit ZeldaSpeaks.com and send us your info. We'd love to have you. Experience mindfulness moments with the mindfulness/stress relief coach, Zelda Speaks. And thanks for sharing the mindfulness moment tip of the day. Stay on purpose, stay empowered, and stay tuned to your next session of mindfulness on higher learning with Zelda Speaks. Make it a mindful day. And thanks for listening. We have an opportunity to transform the whole global society in the next 50 years. 50 years from now, the earth will be populated by a new generation of adults, many of whom are yet unborn. Our mission is to nurture them in childhood with love, guidance, and protection, and to raise them in healthy, happy families. If we impart values of compassion, generosity, and respect for fellow human beings in the next generation of children, they will create a world where people can live together in peace. This is our goal. Be a part of the transformation. Get your copy of the book, The Female Solution. Go
go to www.naimalatif.com. That's www.naimalatif.com.
All right. Welcome, welcome, welcome. Welcome back to Soulful Solution. My name is Dr. Debbie Green with my wonderful co-host, Naima Latif, our executive producer of the Female Solution. And we could take that caller before I go into what I'm
All
getting
right.
ready to say.
Okay. Area code 336350. Introduce yourself to our listening and viewing audience and give us your comments.
Greetings, Dr. Latif.
Yes.
Can you hear me?
Yes, ma'am. Our dear Mama AZ. Thank you so much for joining us today on Soulful Solutions.
Well, thank you, Dr. Debbie Green, and I need to have a reasoning with you offline, so you can tell
Yes,
me,
ma'am.
because it's something that you have hit on point with this show today, that I've been dealing with betrayal for at least a good 3 years. And I don't know what to do. I don't know how to eradicate it out of my system. But it's deep. It may not mean anything to anybody else, but it means a lot to me. So I'd like to have just a brief reasoning with you after the show. I'd appreciate it, because
Yes, ma'am.
do something about this. But also, family, I want to let you know, Brother Kwame's mom, for those who do not know, send your condolences if you choose to. His mom made her transition last night. About 7 o'clock, and this is Brother Kwame Sunhorse. So thank you for having this show today. It's very emotional to me, and I'll just choose to listen and take the jewels from it that I can today. But I need to have a reason with you, Dr. Green. Peace.
Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Latif, for even creating this platform.
Well, thank you, ma'am, for always being a loyal listener, and thank you for letting us know about our dear brother, Baba Kwame, so that we can send him words of comfort and the transition of it. Thank you so much. Yes.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Again, betrayal is one of those things that put us also in a grief-stricken mode. As Mama Az said, it is something that lingers. Everyone, some people can move on quickly with it, and then some can't, due to the fact of what kind of action it was. Because betrayal occurs in different types of actions with different types of people, different sets of relationships. Um, and one must understand the brokenness that can come from betrayal. It is something that can affect the mind, the heart, and the spirit of another individual uh, that is being implied upon. So we know those areas like, you know, there's no closure. When there's no closure, that is when it starts to linger. And we often look for the one that has betrayed us to come and say, I am so sorry. I wish this never happened. And if they're still alive, we want to hear it, So if we don't hear it, then that it just, it just keeps it there, you know. So the stages of grief is what we experience. We experience those stages of grief. And we can go from anger to bargaining. We can go from bargaining to, you know what I'm saying, feeling fearful in it all, feeling but like we can't go on, or, you know, interruptions in life. And as these things continue to happen on a regular basis, uh, we will find ourselves re experiencing them over and over again.
Mm.
And grief can keep you in a trap, it can keep you stuck if you are not allowing yourself to flow. Like, because the memory of the betrayal is something that keeps coming to the forefront of your mind. Because you know why? Because it's an issue in your heart. And
Ooh.
the heart is communicating with the mind to ask, can we let it go now? Because that's what it's for. That's why you feel it so intensely, and that's why the memories are there. Can we, mind, body, and soul, can we make a decision together and agree that we need to move on? Now,
Mm.
if this does not happen, there will always be separation, and it will just continue. It goes back down into the wells of the heart until something else triggers it to come back up again, to ask that same question. Can we let it go now?
Mm. Can we let it
One
go?
cannot change. Can we let it go? One cannot change the actions that has already happened. All we could do is make the choice to move on. You know, I had a patient just recently is dealing with this right now, and they have betrayed someone, and they're stuck with the guilt of it,
Guilt.
and they don't forgive themselves. So I just want to let you know it's two sides of the coin now. Okay, you have the side of the coin of the act being done to the person, and they feeling that repercussion. But you also have the person that did the act by mistake, error, or whatever, and they also feel a repercussion as well.
Mm.
Now, if there's no closure there, which means that there's no final resting place for mutual understanding, then there's always going to be division. That person is going to all they're going to keep thinking that, oh, I shouldn't have done this person, that was a terrible thing. I forgive my I don't forgive myself. I feel guilty. They're going to keep thinking that, and the person that they hurt is going to think the other thing. Oh, they hurt me. They put me in a place where I'll never seem to have no inner peace. So you got two suffering human beings.
So how do you resolve that? How does the person who know that they hurt someone resolve their guilt? And how does, well, we know of course the person who's been hurt, they have to choose to either forgive and let it go, or they're going to keep reliving the pain. But how does the person who performed the wrong act and they know it was an act of betrayal, how do they get to a point where they let the guilt go? Like, well, of course, I had a friend who got someone pregnant outside their marriage, and they're going through the guilt of that because I love my wife, but this thing happened, and I feel terrible, and the marriage broke up. They got back together, but there's still distrust. So on her part, there's distrust that just never it never was healed to the point where there is the trust is broken, and he knows that, but he also feels bad that it was his fault because he stepped outside of their marriage, and there is a living person that is a constant reminder of his infidelity. He feels guilty, on several levels. He feels guilty because he isn't spending the time that he should spend with the other child because of the circumstances of that child's birth. Then he feels guilty at his betrayal at his wife. And he's just kind of on this cycle of guilt, no matter what I do, somebody's mad at me if I go to see the mother and the child, and my wife is mad. But if I don't go, I'm thinking, how's this child going to feel about me because I wasn't there? And so how does a person resolve that inner turmoil where they've done a thing and they've hurt some people, but now they have to live with it and live with it in a way that's constructive rather than just destructively beating themselves up all the time?
Well, you got to know there's only two things that you can do in a situation like that. You can either let it go, or again, like I told you, keep festering. So, in order for both parties to heal, there has to be a recourse. There has to be acknowledgement that the damage, one, was already done between two individuals. When I say
Mm-hmm.
the ones that's hurting and the one that did it, okay? So it's two individuals that's hurting. We often think when somebody hurts us, again, they should suffer. That's the first. We want them to hurt because we are hurting. Misery loves company, right? But the overall goal, which is the integrity thing to do, the godly thing to do, is to heal on both sides. That way it doesn't continue to keep happening. You see what I'm saying? So that person that it was done to, they have to make a conscious decision. Okay, am I just going to keep thinking that this person is this awful person, or whatever the case may be, or whatever I want to label them as? Or am I just going to accept what they've already done, put a period right there, and move on?
Mm.
Because me just keep rehearsing that is not, people. Remember I told you we don't like to put a period. We want to run on sentence. We want to keep rehearsing it. We want to keep reliving it because
Mm.
it's inside of us. It's not outside. It's internal. This is an internal damage. You see what I'm saying? It's an internal damage.
Internal
It,
damage.
yeah, it's internal. It started with a mental contamination, then it became a heart thing. And a heart thing becomes a spirit thing if it's left unfinalized.
Mm.
You have
So,
to finalize it. So in order to repair, you have to first reflect again on the damage that was caused. Like, how did this affect me? Not so much what the person did. How did it affect me?
mm.
And have that compassion within yourself to soothe yourself, to switch to soothe instead of staying in the threat mode all the time. The threat mode is a victim mentality. Oh, you keep doing this to me. You are dead and gone, and I'm still thinking it's being done to me. You
Right.
said anything that's similar to people around that even reminds me of this act. Oh, they doing it to me again.
Mm.
You understand what I'm saying? Because I'm constantly reliving. I'm reliving this mentally. I'm reliving this every day. I don't want to let it go. It's me that doesn't want to move on. It's not the act of the person. It's me that doesn't
Now,
want to move on. Does that
now,
make sense?
yeah, and I guess you talk about mental contamination, where you get to a point that all of your thinking is affected by this. Now, I got a friend. She's in a situation where, she's got teenage daughters, and uh, they're with this. They've got a group of school. I think they're with, some organization anyway. That they had a sleepover, and all the girls were going to be at a sleepover. She didn't let her daughters go because when she was a child and she spent the night at a friend's house, she was molested by her friend's older brother. And so she's still carrying that, and it was one of those things that happened. Nobody in the family ever addressed it, dealt with it. She never told her mother. Her friend knew, but it just kind of didn't get talked about at all. So her belief now is, I will never let my daughter spend the night at someone else's house. And so when she said no, her daughters were very upset and angry because it was one of those things where everybody's doing it, everybody's going to be there. We're the only ones that aren't going to be there. And she's like, no, no, no. And she said, well, they're really angry at me, but they don't know that I'm protecting them. And so I thought that she should explain to them what happened. She was like, no, I'm not, I don't want to talk about that. I just want them to be safe. So she's buried it, but it's still affecting her and affecting her decisions and her ability to trust. And it's affecting her daughters because since she doesn't trust, they can't experience a sleepover out of her fear that they might be molested. So in that situation, is she correct for following her fears, or should she examine, the place where they're going to be staying and talk about it openly? Should she tell her daughters what her fears are? You know, rather than just be stuck at no, you can never do these kind of activities ever. What does she do to move beyond her fear?
Well, first of all, she has to help her daughter to heal. She has to help her daughter to heal from
I mean,
from
her
the
daughter didn't go through
experience,
it. She
and
went
let her
through
know.
she went through it as a
I
child, and that's
right,
why she's not her daughter go to a sleepover.
right. But again, she has to help her daughter heal, regardless of what she's doing.
Uh,
But otherwise, she's
uh,
just going to keep it going on and on. You see what I'm
mm-hmm,
saying? The goal is to acknowledge the integrity of a life, and so even if you were violated as a child, or whatever the case may be, that doesn't mean that you're going to keep that going on with your children. So at some
mm,
given point, you have to again help your daughter to heal, as well
mm,
as you in your healing process as well. So when these things are
mm,
done, when you start putting always and never in a sentence, then you
mm.
really are future telling, because you don't know if that's going to happen. Now you're
Right,
giving them a different mindset of what people are. You see
right.
what I'm saying?
Fear.
And so you're right, and you are impacting fear upon their mind of a human
Mm.
being, because especially if they're a child, because they always say, well, that means I never can trust nobody. That means I have
Yeah,
to always think that somebody's going to do something to me, or whatever the case is. So now they walk around paranoid, because that's
yeah.
what it is. Remember, I told you, paranoia is not just a mental illness; it's a way in action of a deflect of a character. You know
Yeah.
what I'm saying? I always think somebody has an agenda because they always doing this and they always doing that. No, that's a form of thought. You see what I'm
Yeah.
saying? It's a form of thought. When it becomes severe, now it becomes a mental illness. When
Ooh.
it's severe. You see what I'm saying? So a lot of people walking around paranoid, don't realize that they have built up a lot of these things from childhood events that they've been taught or they have experienced, one, and also because they have not released, they have not released the hurt of feeling betrayed.
Mm.
See, it affects the heart and the mind, like I told you, but you still have to, at some point, tell yourself, okay, when am I going to heal from this? You have to acknowledge self. Self has to come to a certain stance in life. When am I going to heal from this? Not so much of, why am I still holding on to them? No, when am I going to heal? And what does that look like? What does that feel like to heal? You know,
Mm.
first it has to be a choice.
Yeah.
If you don't make a choice to heal, then you won't. Remember, our personal narratives can be relived every single day.
Wow.
The brain is a Rolodex to memory, and the heart is a Rolodex to emotions.
Mm.
You see what I'm saying? So we consciously, eyes wide open, Naima, we have
Mm.
to then make a conscious decision daily, especially when we've been hurt in that to that magnitude, right? So we have to make a conscious decision daily to say, to ourselves, okay, self, I don't think you need to suffer anymore.
Mm.
I think that at some given point, whatever needs to be let go of has to be let go of. even if you do it little bit by little bit every day. It's like building a house, but your foundation is your freedom.
Mm.
Okay. And then you lay a block. Let me lay a block a piece today, if that's all you say. Because when tomorrow comes, lay another block. And
Mm.
you do this every single day till you start feeling the emotional release. Because that's what's going to give you the understanding of, am I moving past this? You
Mm.
start feeling the emotional release from this thing that you've been carrying in your heart for so long. You see what I'm saying? Don't you know people can bury things like this and never
Yeah.
deal with them until they become festered and they have no other choice but to deal with it? And it'll start affecting your ADLs, your
Yeah.
actions of daily living. It affects your sleeping. Some people going through insomnia right now. They just think, oh, I can't sleep. But no, you holding something deep down in the wells of your heart that you have not put a period on.
Mm.
You holding
So it,
something deep down inside yourself. You see what I'm saying? So it's a process of what they call inward healing, and it's also a process of outward healing.
mm.
Because whatever happened coming from the outside, you have to allow that to heal. And also what you're pushing out, considering that thing and how you're dealing with it from the inside, you have to let that heal too.
Mm. So is it
You have to
ever
let it.
let it? Yeah. Is it ever? I guess it's never too late. But people who may have gone through a lifetime, such as this mother with her daughters, and her whole life has been protecting myself, protecting my children from the molesters that are out there, to the point where that's a state of mind. And even socially, she's kind of isolated, doesn't really do a lot of social interaction with people, very private and that sort of thing. um, and so for her, just a permanent state of being. Fear, fear, therefore I'm going to keep my children safe. And like you say, then they learn you can't trust anybody.
Right.
But at what point can a person, or is it too late at some point for a person to change their infected thinking so that they can get out of the prison that they have built for themselves, and not being able to really enjoy basic interactions or social events to the degree where they will even like being around a lot of people, because there's always that underlying fear. I don't even know how they got married, because the paranoia about you know uh molestation, all that. I mean, I know it will. What are the statistics? Like one in every three women or something like that has been molested. So those are the, I think, in global statistics. So it's so many people that have had an experience of violation, but you can't live your life as if everybody's going to violate you and think
Right.
that's what keeps me safe. So how does a person get out of that victim mode so that they don't transfer it to their children?
Well, first of all, they got to acknowledge that they're in it. You have
Mm.
people that have no self-aware that doesn't even know because
Mm-hmm.
they've lived that way for years and years and years. You see what I'm saying? So in their way, they think this is. They don't even know. They have
Normal.
no idea. They think this is who they are. You know, until one day they open their eyes and see that all this time, you know what I'm saying? I've been isolating. Keeping
Yeah.
myself in this place. Like I have I have a patient right now that's 70 years old,
Mm.
and she has been through quite a lot of trauma in her life, and a lot of those trauma is based on this topic today. It's betrayal.
Mm.
Because again, betrayal is anything that affects your self-esteem and the person that you are. It could be a violation of any kind: sexual, emotional, mental, loss of divorce, anything that affects you as a human being. So, fast forward, what she did was she started isolating, and she thinks it's safe
Mm.
for her to, oh, I don't want to get too close to people. I don't want to allow people in my life. So she found herself she kept doing it so much to the point where she had very little interaction with human people.
Oh. So
So
what?
she started isolating. So when she started isolating, then she became depressed
Oh,
because that's all that can happen after that.
right.
You see what I'm saying? So, we think it's healthy just to not be into the world. No, you got to have some kind of stimulation, right? Okay, so, me telling her, like you say, you asked the question, you say, well, how can a person change from being the victim and not allowing themselves to be in this box? Again, emotional awareness. I
Mm,
am and has been suffering.
mm,
I
wow.
am and has been suffering. Okay, you have to first acknowledge that you've been suffering in order to do something about it. You can't be
Yeah.
in denial and act like it's not there. You see what I'm saying? And once you acknowledge it, then you got to ask yourself, okay, how am I going to make this better for me? How am I going to free me up from this? And you may not know the answer right then. The solution may not be there, but at least you're tapping into it. You see what I'm
Mm,
saying? And the first thought is going to be, okay, I got to make a decision. I have to make a decision now because I know I've been carrying this for a long time and I've been pretending like it's not there. I've been, showing everybody the poker face like, oh, it ain't me. I'm not hurting. I don't have the problem. And all the time, it was me. It was me. And I'm finally realizing that I am hurting. I'm not just pretending not to hurt anymore.
mm,
I'm not, even though
that-
I have these times where I get irritable, people just get on my nerves and oh my goodness, you know? And I'm like, why I get irritated so easy? And I don't tell nobody I get irritated because I'm gonna act like I'm passive aggressive. No, I'm not gonna bother that. I'm not gonna okay. You see what I'm saying? So we put ourselves in this posture of pretend.
instead of addressing the problem. And I know a lot of passive aggressive people. That's really what they're doing.
Yeah,
They're holding on to all kinds of emotions, and
right?
it doesn't get better if you pretend it's not there. We got to take one last
No.
we got to take one last break, and of course, if you're on our switchboard now, we got a caller 872. We can come to you at 731. We'll come to you right after the break. And if you are listening online and want to join this conversation, give us a call 515-605-9325 and press 1 so we know you have something to say to Dr. Debbie Green and get some soulful solutions from Dr. Debbie Green. We'll be right back after this brief break, so stick and stay. Don't stray away. We'll be back in a moment, so stay with us.
I'm Beata, your holistic life coach. These days, it's more important than ever to work on your physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual health. Are you consciously breathing deeply in stressful moments? Do you have a plan or daily routine to maintain balance in your awesome body? Are you struggling to be disciplined in your eating habits? When you partner with me, I'll help you develop a personalized health plan that works for your particular lifestyle. You can find out more about me at yourholisticlifecoach.com, where you can also review my 3-step protocol to guide you to abundant health. That's yourholisticlifecoach.com, and I'm Beata. Hi, I'm Naima Latif. Join me and my co-host Kareem Hamid every Wednesday morning, 7 a.m. to 9 a.m. on the Female Solution Radio Show, as we explore that relationship that is the foundation for our society, the relationship between men and women, husbands and wives. Join our discussion as we seek to repair broken family ties and rebuild our community. listen online at www.blogtalkradio.com/the-female-solution. Call in and comment 515-605-9325. Press 1 to speak to our host. Or you can join us live on Facebook at www.facebook.com/the-female-solution. Do you or your organization need space for an event? Call the Corey Event Center at 2423 East 75th Street in Chicago. For your parties, banquets, award ceremonies, repasses, concerts, and business seminars. Available 7 days a week. Now under new management. Call us at the Corey at 773-663-2557. That's 773-663-2557.
All right. All right. We're at the top of our hour. Thank you for joining us again. This is Dr. Debbie Green. I'm Dr. Debbie Green again. Thank you for being on Soulful Solution with my wonderful co-host Naima Latif, our executive producer. Our topic of today is the act of betrayal and
Yes.
how
You
to
want to
heal
caller?
from it.
You
Yes,
want
go ahead.
area code 872-731. You are on. Your mic is open. Give us your name and where you're calling from and your question or comment for Dr. Debbie Green.
Good morning. This is Rashida Ali calling from Chicago.
Yes,
I
ma'am.
was listening to her. Hi.
How are you?
All right. Jesus.
Grand Rising.
Yeah, I'm good. Yeah. I was wondering why unsolved homicide is a sense of injustice. Research has shown that families of unsolved murder victims often experience a profound sense of injustice, which can result in a lack of closure and ongoing pain. So, some people say, well, you're told to come here and you know what's going to happen when you go and when you're told this life, there's a bunch of hypocrisy and more because it hurts when you have a family member that has been killed in your neighborhood or in your environment and no resolve, no closure. So people need to be trained. What are the effects of homicide? Psychological effects. Some of them include anxiety, depression, post-traumatic stress disorder, aggression, guilt, and a heightened sense of vulnerability. So people who have judgment and say, oh, well, grief is sure you're born, you die. Yes, sure you are born, sure you will die. But when it comes to the injustice, the sense of injustice that is shown among the families and unsolved murder victims often experience a profound sense of injustice. So we need to start healing and helping people to heal, but know how.
Yes, ma'am. Absolutely. I understand. One thing about taking life, Sister Rashida, people are often affected by this due to the effects of their own life. Okay, so when someone else takes another person's life in any aspect, whether it's physically, mentally, emotionally, however they do it, you see what I'm saying? It is based upon just the human factor. Okay, the human factor is like I don't take you seriously enough to really understand that you are valuable too. So they lose value in themselves first. Any person behind the gun or the knife or whatever has lost value within themselves. That's how that works. They have lost value in themselves. And then now it becomes an issue. Okay. It becomes an
Yeah,
issue.
they will
So please don't
agree.
let that linger in your mind. Don't let it linger in your mind because that's toxic. Okay, that's toxic.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes,
That's why
ma'am. Yes,
you
ma'am.
know, I know that victimization, what it can do, and the secondary sense of victimization, you know, is grief. You know, grief of us homicides. It should be a real big platform, you know, because sometimes people who are vulnerable prey on other people because of their
Yes,
vulnerability.
and this happens.
Yeah,
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. This is going to continue. It is an ongoing thing that's going to continue to happen on the earth. Okay, so there's nothing you can do, anyone else can do about it. It is something that is going to continue to happen. That's the reason why I'm telling you what I'm telling you. You can't be in it and let it internalize. You can't internalize it mentally, emotionally. You can't internalize it because it's going to happen. It's nothing that we can do because this has been happening since the beginning of time. Unfortunately, I wish I could tell you something different, but there is no difference.
You know,
No difference. But we need to get back to the topic,
yeah.
please.
And thank you so much for calling in,
Thank you
Rashida.
so
We
much.
appreciate your thoughts. One of the things that people can easily get stuck on, whether the betrayal came in the form of, because, I mean, you have the domestic violence situation, which is definitely a violation. Someone that you love beat you or even takes your life. And those things become traumatizing to everybody whose life they touched. But the whole purpose in addressing it is for you to choose to heal so that you are not reliving that emotion. That's what trauma is, when you keep reliving
Yeah.
a negative emotion and feeling, and all the physiological things that happen when you are distressed, that becomes your regular state of being. And who wants to live in that state of being? So our minds are very powerful. We literally create the experiences we have by our focus on specific things we either desire to have happen or fear will happen. And if you focus on what you fear will happen, you create it. Just like if you focus on what you want to happen, you create.
Right.
So you
Yes.
have to first master your mind, and
Yeah.
then you can draw to you that which you desire to experience, and you can be at peace. It's very difficult for people to believe that when they're in a state of trauma, because it's a victim state. Things are going to happen to me that I can't do anything about.
Right.
I'm helpless.
Yeah.
Once you get stuck in that mode, it's very hard to empower yourself to focus on what you want to happen. What do you want your life to look like? What do you want to feel? And keep your focus on that rather than the opposite, which is what you fear will happen. So, Dr.
Yes.
Debbie, how do we get out of that fear mode after we've experienced a betrayal, experienced someone we trusted that did something horrible? We experienced someone doing something that we never would have thought would have come from that person because we trusted them.
Yeah.
How do we get out of that mindset of fear and distrust that comes after a betrayal?
Well, I want to kind of bring up a strong point. And as women, we allow and we experience. I have to say, allow and experience betrayal different from men. Okay. And I'm probably going to do a part two on this, namely because it's a whole different ball game when it comes to being betrayed in a relationship when you are a
Mm-hmm.
woman. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and because we have different emotional underthrows than men do. You see what I'm saying? And of course, it is like you say, well, how can you get over? How can you let go of? How can you move on? You know, how can we stop the restlessness or the sense of feeling, perpetually on guard? Because really that's what's happening. Remember, I said, the brain contamination, it's real. It
Mm-hmm.
really is. And we get to that, we dealing with that fear and that anger all in one convulsion. It just keeps exploding. And whether we realize it or not, you see what I'm saying? We become a different person, you know. And
Mm-hmm.
before it happened, we were one person. After it happened, we become someone else. And again, it lingers, and it causes us to 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 stop. We become sometimes emotionally dysfunctional behind
Mm-hmm.
it. you know so acknowledgement, because you asked me a question, so I'm gonna give you an answer. We have to first have a self awareness that it's me. I am the one that's hurting. Okay, I am the one that this happened to. And take the focus off the perpetrator or the traitor or whatever you want to call them. It's me.
Mm-hmm.
I am the one that's hurting from this. So we take all of that energy, all of the focus, instead of putting it on the person, we then put it on ourselves.
Mm-hmm.
Okay?
I am the
You
one who
know,
has something. It's
I
not the
am
I
not
need
what
to.
they did. No, no, not what they did to me. I am the person that's hurting from this situation. Now it becomes a situation. It's not becomes an attack. The brain has to see the difference. You see what I'm saying? It's a
Yeah.
situation I'm dealing with now. I'm not just being attacked anymore. The,
Mm-hmm.
the attack has already happened. Now it's a situation. So what do I do in this situation? I have to do this thing called switch to soothe, right? Because
Mm-hmm.
my goal is not to keep carrying this mess inside of me. My goal is not to keep thinking about it over and over again. I don't want to keep triggering anytime I even think something might be happening, for me to walk around and what they call a perpetual on guard. Okay, which I call mild, paranoia. Okay. Oh,
Mm-hmm.
no, no, no. I'm not going to be there, because, but then I'm not free. I'm not free thinking. I'm not free feeling. I'm still bounded by this action that someone else did to me. So that means what? I'm enslaved by it. I'm still a victim of it, right?
Mm-hmm.
So when I switch to soothe and put all the emotions intact upon myself and say, okay, self, I see that you're hurting from this action, from this situation. Okay, what should I do? First of all, I got to get to a point in myself that that thing ain't bigger than me. It ain't stronger than me.
Mm-hmm.
You know, I have to acknowledge that inside first of all. Once I get there to make that decision, you see what I'm saying? Now I got to start some emotional releasing. What do I do? If I still holding something against them, okay, guess what? Let me take that back by forgiving them. I'm taking some power back. If I'm still angry at them, let me take that back, because I'm taking my power back.
Mm-hmm.
You see what I'm saying? So you literally start taking the power back, which then shrinks the incident to this small.
Mm-hmm.
Mentally,
Mm-hmm.
mentally, mentally. Because remember, it was this big. You see what I'm saying? It
Yes.
was this big. So now you're shrinking it every day to this small. So when it gets to this small, then you can deal with it. You
Yeah.
understand what I'm saying? You
Yeah.
can handle it. When it was too big, you couldn't handle it. You got
Right.
to compact that thing into a compartmentalized situation. Right
Mm.
there. Right there. And you get it to a point where it's getting this small, to a point where guess what? It's minute. It's minute. It's minute. So now it doesn't become an ongoing trauma. It's not an ongoing thought process. It's not, and even if a thought comes into your mind that's even similar to it, then you will say to yourself, wait a minute, no, I dealt with that. That's not a part of my life now. No, I'm not going to keep reliving that. And you make yourself, you have to get your presence in that situation then puts you in control of it, because remember, it was this big, it was bigger than you. That's why I kept beating you up. That's why you kept, like, you the victim, you in a fetal position, right?
Mm.
You're in a fetal position because you feel that it's bigger than you. See, it's all a mind thing and a heart thing. You see what I'm saying? Because it's an
Yeah.
action. Time has already took it. It's gone.
There's a subject. I mean, I want to ask about it, but I know it's kind of open up a can of worms. But I'm thinking about what you said, how an incident can change you and change your personality. I've got a friend
Yeah.
who is a
Yes.
Christian preacher, um, and has been married a couple of times. And some time back, I visited his church, and he was going on and on and on about, homosexuality, and how, the evils of it, and this and that, and these people who don't know if they're male or female. I mean, he was to me obsessing about it. And and then I found out the backstory was that his first wife, he found she'd had a relationship with another woman, and she confessed to him that she was not really heterosexual, but her family was not accepting her as she was. So she ended up, coming out, and now she's living her lifestyle openly. But that traumatized him because he felt betrayed, because he thought she was one thing, she actually was using him as a cover so her family would accept her. And then once she decided she was not going to pretend anymore, she went on with her female companion. So he later remarried, and he lately his conversation, it seems to be obsessive in that area. And
Yeah.
I can see that it is from the personal hurt and feelings of betrayal, but
Right.
also, to me, it distorts his message and his ability to receive the inspiration from the divine in such a way that he can help people with their problems, because he's still reacting to his internal hurt. That's just my observation.
No, you're right. That's what it is.
When something affects you to that degree and you're hurting, how do you know, and unless someone tells you that your pain has altered your personality? I mean,
Well,
how
that's
how
just it, though. He may not know. Remember, I said it usually comes out of you, but that doesn't mean you're aware of it.
mm,
So, as if a close friend or confidant or somebody may have some trust in, if they see it, they need to call him on it and let him know. Hey,
yeah,
are you aware that you are
kind
talking
of
about
that's
this?
about hot.
Repetitively. Are you
Yeah,
aware? And he may, he's gonna, if he's a man of integrity, because not saying all pastors are. Let me just get that out of the way. If he's a man of dignity or integrity, he'll say, really? Was I really doing that? Yes, you was. So, and I just want to know, have you healed from that? And that need to be a question. So it can put him back into a place where he needs to identify what he's might have not been healed from, because he probably is still holding on some regret, feeling
yeah,
incapacitated as a man that had a woman to do that. May
yeah,
not been holding on forgiveness, or regret as a man.
Yeah. I
So,
think a hard thing for people to deal with because, and I've had several male friends and female friends who've had that happen where they were in a relationship with someone and that person later left the relationship and said, well, I'm really not heterosexual. And the person in the relationship, number one, they felt betrayal. Number two, they felt maybe even a self-blame, like maybe there's something wrong with me, the reason why they turned toward the same sex, maybe I wasn't good enough. So they start projecting guilt on themselves instead of understanding this, for whatever reason, this is this person's orientation. It's got nothing to do with me. Perhaps they should have been honest with themselves before they got in a relationship with me, or maybe they just really
that's
didn't
too
know themselves.
logical. That's
Yeah,
too logical. People don't think logical all the time.
yeah,
We're more impulsive than we are logical.
yeah, that's true. So, those,
Unfortunately, I wish it was.
yeah, that
You
kind of
know, if
betrayal.
everybody thought logical, it would not be a lot of hurt and pain in the world.
Right.
If everybody thought, oh, if I do this, will this hurt another person? No, but they don't think we're more emotional people.
Yeah,
So, the act of betrayal is something that affects the mind and emotion to another human being because it's an
yeah,
impulsive thought. It's not
yeah.
unless you have some people who are very revengeful and intentional out there. Oh, I'm going to do this on purpose. I'm going
Mm,
to hurt you on purpose because I want
mm,
you to suffer for
yeah,
whatever reason they are. Now, that act is on purpose. That act of
yes.
betrayal is on purpose. We have
Purpose.
betrayals in nations on top of nations,
That's
leaks
true.
of information that shouldn't be leaked or whatever. Anytime you violate in any area, it's betrayal, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yes. So, I just want to speak to every woman, especially because this is a female solution. If you experience betrayal on any level, any type of violation, please understand you are your own healer.
Mm,
If you look for healing outside of yourself, you will not get it. It is not in a pill. It is not in the injection. It's not even in anyone else's mouth to
wow.
speak a word. You are your internal healer. You have to heal from the inside out. It is
Mm,
not something you need outside of yourself to heal. If you're struggling with an addiction because of a betrayal, alcohol, drugs, whatever, codependency, which is people addiction, you need to make a choice and heal. Otherwise, it's just going to continue to get worse. Betrayal eats at the soul, okay? It takes away from the inner parts of a human being and it breaks you down little by little, day by day. Make a choice to eliminate whatever damage has been done. Switch to soothe yourself. Self preservation, self rescue, self discipline, and self love is all you need.
mm,
Let it go.
there you go.
Move on. Move on. Don't stay stuck in time because time ain't going to give you nothing. It ain't going to change nothing. You're just going to be in pain because that's all that can give you is pain. But make a decision today to close that chapter of your life and live.
90
And
seconds.
Mm.
don't exist, live.
Oh, I like that. Don't exist. Live. All right.
Thank you. Thank you, Facebook, for watching. Thank you, YouTube. Please subscribe to our channel and let us know how we did. Please comment. Let us know if there's any topics that you want us to talk about. We are free and open. It's all right. Thank you, Blog Talk, for listening. And you have a
60
blessed day
seconds.
and keep mindful. Stay mindful of your being. Stay mindful.
All
And
right.
thank you, Naima.
Well, thank you, Dr. Debbie. And we'll see you all again next week, right back here at Soulful Solutions with Dr. Debbie. And of course, tune in tomorrow for Health and Wellbeing with Viata at AM Eastern Time. And she'll be helping you take charge of your health on the Female Solution and YouTube at Viata's Tiny House Village. Join us tomorrow and every day on the Female Solution Global Radio TV show. We'll see you next time. Oh, and grand rising to Zelda, our Monday morning mindfulness host, Therapeutic Queens. Thanks for the healing insights. Yes, that's why we're all here.
10 seconds.
Watch our TV shows. Listen to our radio shows.
All right. Have a wonderful day.
Give the book
Have a wonderful rest of your day.
on behalf of our team of